Hey folks, welcome aboard. My name is Amar Sheth, and welcome to another edition of the Social Influencer Series. This is a chance for you to hear directly from social influencers who are doing all cool things like content marketing, they're figuring out how to generate pipe, they've got crazy sexy tools, etc., etc. So, I've got Brendan Cournoyer. Brendan is the Director of Content Marketing at Brainshark. So, Brendan, welcome aboard. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So, folks, just a bit of a note in advance. There might be a small echo. Brendan and I have done our best to get rid of it, but listen to his words. You don't want to miss this, okay?
I have a very fashionable headset, so hopefully that the echo isn't too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan, tell the audience a little bit about you, your professional journey, and what you're doing at Brainshark.
I manage content marketing here at Brainshark. We're a company that provides sales enablement solutions, content solutions, training, analytics, that sort of thing. And I've started out sort of in online publishing. I studied journalism in college and kind of took that common path of taking that sort of journalism foundation and putting it into a content marketing mindset. And been doing that for several years now and having a lot of fun.
I actually don't feel as bad as I did last week. So you wrote an amazing blog about Tamara Schenk last week. I sent you a note on it, and I was wondering, how the heck do you write so well? So now I know, and I don't feel bad. I didn't do journalism, and I'm paying the price.
You flatter me. Thank you. The one class I did pretty well at in school was it's
That's
paying off
awesome.
here.
Let's jump right in. What is the value of sharing content from a sales perspective? Why should salespeople today in B2B spend time finding and sharing content?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. The first thing is you're sharing content. Content is a way to engage directly with your audience. Sales reps are always looking for ways to get in front of new buyers. Well, hey, the world's your oyster with social media. So
Yeah.
if you have content, you can get out in front of customers and actually provide something of value to them that they're going to find useful and helpful. So it's sort of, think of Twitter as like a 140 character icebreaker in that sense. They have a question, people are online talking about things. If it's something related to your product or service that you can actually provide some sort of service for, even if it's not product centric, even if it's just sort of a non-promotional thought leadership idea, you can share that with them. If they say helping to do marketing, well, it goes for sales as well. So you can sort of break the ice and get out in front and build an engagement sort of relationship with potential buyers by sharing content. And they're looking at this person being like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is a trusted source of information. You're beginning to build trust from the very beginning because you're providing content and you're building expertise for yourself and your brand with that content. So that's one thing. The second thing, though, is it's not just about sharing your content, right? It's about sharing the content that your audience is putting out there. They're out there on Twitter, on LinkedIn. They're sharing things. They're sharing ideas. They're creating content themselves, especially if you're talking about marketers who create a lot of content. So it's not just about pushing things from your way. It's also looking at the stuff that they're putting out there, the content and resources that they're sending, the tweets that they're writing, and commenting on that, sharing that out to audiences, favoriting those things, liking those things, creating engagement that way. So you have all this content going around and it's sort of a two-way street, and it gives you multiple ways to sort of at least create the beginnings of a relationship that at some point could pay off down the line when you're talking about a potential sales conversation.
Yeah, so I picked up two really neat nuggets from what you just said. Number one, and you didn't say this, but I'm going to paraphrase this because I think this is the end result. Sharing content creates sales opportunities. It allows sharing content leads to engagement. Engagement leads to dialogue. Dialogue creates sales opportunities. So I think that's priceless. That's awesome. The second thing you talked about was, help is the new marketing, or helping is definitely the new sales. LinkedIn did a survey of 1,500 B2B buyers, and those results came out in September 2014, just a few months ago. And they asked a question. They said, what are the main attributes you look for in your desired sales professional? And the number one answer was someone that's known as a, quote, thought leader in their industry. Right. And that just goes to show. And now thought leadership is a very overabused term. I think it's
Sure.
been,
I agree.
it's
I
way
abuse it
overused.
myself, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, how about expert or subject matter expert? How about specialist? All the things that salespeople really are. but they're just not able to convey it over a 30-second cold call. I don't care how well you plan for a sales call. You can have 5 minutes on the phone with someone and not be able to convey 10 minutes of value. So that's the other thing I picked up. So that's awesome. Thanks, Brendan. So I'm a sales guy. I'm Johnny Sales Guy. I'm convinced I should share content. What types of content should I be sharing across the buying journey? Maybe in the awareness stage, in the consideration stage, in the decision stage. What are the main types of content that I should be focused on? Walk me through that. I want to get your insights on that.
Well, I don't think it's always necessarily about the types of content. I think it's about the content that's going to serve you in the particular situation you're in.
Great point.
Different types of content are more appropriate at different stages of the buying cycle. I think you made the point. Reps. Customers are looking for reps that can be a thought leader or expert in their field, and reps are looking for ways to articulate value, and that's a hard thing to do. There are other studies out there that say, like, what's the number one reason? I think this is a corporate vision study, but don't quote me on that. What is the number one reason reps fail to hit their quota? And the number one reason for some studies is that there's an inability to articulate value to the buyer. Content is sort of your safety net where it can help support those conversations and help reps deliver the value that prospective customers and prospects are looking for. So throughout the buying cycle, you want to look at things, from an awareness stage. You're looking generally more, I'm going to use it again, thought leadership content, but you don't necessarily need to push your product right away. It's more about, creating a dialogue, seeing what your audience is interested in and providing some sort of value to them that way. And then as you move them forward through the buying cycle, or as they move themselves forward through the buying cycle, then your content starts to become a little bit more product-centric. Now you can start getting into, how the value of your solution can actually help them specifically. And then as you move even further towards a closed deal, you have content that gets even more specific to the ways you can help. And this is where you have, your customer testimonials, case studies, success stories, maybe specific data sheets and things like that they can share with other decision makers in their organization. Because as we know, especially in the B2B sales cycle and buying cycle, there's multiple decision makers. That's why the cycle is so long. Totally. You need content that you can share out, that you can send to the point of contact so that they can share out with all the other people who are going to be involved in making this decision. So you start off with some very general thought leadership content, and you get more specific through the cycle about how your product can help. But it's always spun around about how you're helping the customer. It's not about what you do, it's how you can help. So as long as you're already spinning it that way, that's what you want your content to do. And then the format it takes, video is always a great format. It's much easier to create now. We're creating a video as we speak.
Absolutely.
White papers and ebooks are great formats for thought leadership content. Blog posts are great things to share. Tweets are great things to share if you're engaging in a dialogue earlier in the cycle. So the format, I think, is less important than what the content needs to do at different stages of the cycle.
So the key takeaway for Johnny Sales Rep here is the content should have a purpose. And that purpose should be to help at various stages of that buying journey, wherever that is. That's the key takeaway. Everything should have a purpose.
That's my biggest rule with content marketing is that everything should have a strategic purpose. You don't want to waste effort by doing things that you think are working. You want to be able to measure everything and have at least some sort of goal for what you're accomplishing. And that goes double for sales enablement content.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I want to ask you a question, a little bit operational in nature. There seems to be that chasm between sales and marketing, right? It's always there. How can marketing help sales? Like, what things can marketing do to enable salespeople to share more content in their company? Because that's a challenge that we always see, right?
It's a huge challenge.
Yeah, sales is not sharing enough, and marketing is spending. I think the latest stats from Content Marketing Institute are 50 to 60 hours on a white paper, which just blows my brains. I would never be able to do that. 4 to 6 hours to write a blog, and all this content is sitting in a repository in an ivory tower, and it's stale, right? Sales doesn't share it. So what can we do?
Well, the biggest thing is you have to make it easy, make it as easy on them as possible to do this. You can't assume that reps are going to have really any level of expertise when it comes to social media from the start. Some reps, most companies have an organization where, some reps are really good at it. They really get it. They use it really well. Some reps don't get it at all. And the majority are just not doing it in an effective way. So you have to find a way to make it really easy on them, because this is, for most salespeople, a different way to go about doing their job, a different tool in their arsenal that they're not used to using. So, everything from creating pre-written tweets and suggestions for content to share out to your audience, and being like, hey, these are great resources for buyer X, and this is a great resource for buyer Y. Putting it out there and being like, this is the stuff that you can just take and put it out there and share it with your customers. You need to make it really, really simple for them. Sometimes this involves training. And often in this case, it's going to involve some sort of training. It could involve the investment in some type of solution, social selling solution. It could involve just an ongoing sort of consultant help and stuff like that. But you need to make it really, really easy for them. And then you also need to demonstrate the value that it's going to provide to them. You can't just say, hey, social selling is a big deal. Let's everybody start tweeting. That's not really going to, reps want to make money. They want to close deals. They want to hit their numbers, and you have to at least be able to, in some way, demonstrate that doing this, while it's not, and this is one of the biggest things in social selling, it's not the whole enchilada. It's not all of a sudden you start going on Twitter or LinkedIn and Google Plus or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden your sales are going to just skyrocket just doing that. It's another tool in your arsenal, when used thoughtfully and effectively, can really help you create new relationships. So you have to demonstrate that and show how going from point A from a social media standpoint can get you to point Z from a closed deal. And if you can demonstrate that process and show the value, then they'll want to use it. So if you make it really easy, you demonstrate the value, those are the two biggest things. But you're right, it's a really big challenge. It's a big challenge for a lot of companies.
Let's talk about that A to Z evolution, right? Or the path from A to Z. People Links just came out with a study. I think they surveyed 250 or 300 buyers or something, and they discovered that only 30% of reps say they're comfortable with using social media, or they know how to use social media in the sales capacity. And just as a sidebar, I think that's way over the top. I think that number is closer to 4%. I really do, because I've seen it firsthand, right? Why aren't, this A to Z movement, why aren't more companies exploring how to activate social in the enterprise? What's preventing them, according to you?
Well, first of all, I agree with you. The 30% I think they're lying. They're probably lying. And if you believe that 30% of your sales organization is comfortable or effective at social selling, then you're kidding yourself. It's much lower number.
I don't think it's
they
lying.
Might think they are, but
I think it's overcompensating. I really think they haven't seen the full potential. Superman doesn't know he can fly until he actually leaves planet Earth and explores the universe, right?
Sure.
Just jumping on a trampoline doesn't make you a flyer of any kind. That's a really bad example, but I think the audience will get it.
I get it. I think it has to come from the top. There has to be buy-in from the top, from your sales managers and from your sales executives, that this is going to be a part of the sales process and this is something that's going to be effective. They have to understand that this is a valuable thing for reps, because, like we said, in order for them to do it, you have to invest in it. The number one thing about being successful with social selling, in my opinion, from a rep standpoint, is commitment. And you need to enable them to be committed to doing this. If you just, send out an email saying like, hey guys, check out this blog article about social selling on LinkedIn, go nuts. That's not going to be super effective. They have to be committed to it in order to do it really well. And they have to do it continuously. To do that, you need buy-in and you need coaching from the top, from managers and sales executives. And maybe not all sales managers and all sales executives feel that way right now. A lot of people are talking about social selling, though. So, it's not just some flash in the pan. It's something that people are having real success with. And there's really smart people out there talking about social selling. Like I mentioned before, you have these seasoned thought leaders and experts in the sales arena, like Jill Conrath, like Jim Keenan, like Coca Sexton, people like that who are really popular, talking about social selling, not because, they have, it's because it works, basically, and they've seen people have success with it. So learning from the people who are doing things really well and having that sort of buy-in from the very top to then enable reps to be successful with it is really important, because, like we said, you have to invest in it. You have to invest from a commitment standpoint. You have to invest in training and getting reps understanding how to use these tools. You have to invest in some cases, a solution, even if it's a free solution, to just make it really, really simple on them. But there has to be investment from the top. And if you don't have that, you're really just going to have those kind of rogue reps here and there who have figured out ways to be successful with it, and they're doing it really well, but that's not going to be scalable across your organization.
Brendan, don't call them rogue. We call them centers of excellence.
I did not mean to put a negative connotation on that. You're right.
No, but jokes aside, I totally agree with you because I've always said that social, it's like with everything, right? It's not a random set of activities.
Mhm.
You can't just send an email. It is a formal plan that your organization must adopt. If you believe the modern buyer has changed, which obviously guys like you and I, we've bought in hook, line, and sinker to that, then yeah, you need that formal plan in place. So Brendan, I really want to thank you for your time. We're going to end the interview here, but thanks again for being on the show. I want to check in with you later on in the year. The market is piping red hot right now. I want to get your take on content marketing, which is constantly shifting and evolving. So to the audience, Brendan is a seasoned content marketer. His job is to enable salespeople to make more money, right? His title doesn't say that, but that's exactly what he does. So guys like Brendan produce content so that we can share it, sound really smart when we're not, get the attention of buyers, and then get sales meetings and close deals. That's the end result of sharing content. So that was my agenda for having Brendan on the Social Influencer series. And I want to thank you for your time, Brendan. And I'll see you on the dark side. Take care.
Thank you.